this side of the streams. I'm not entirely sure what the name of this part of the stream is, but whatever the name is, you guys are in it, so congratulations. My name's Catherine, I'm Chief People Officer at Benefex, and I'm going to be talking to you all a little bit later about culture, but I am delighted to introduce the awesome Jackie Buttery. I came up to do this because she said that she couldn't say she was awesome, but she is awesome.
Who says they're awesome?
Jackie has been a long-time client and more lately friend of Benefex, working with us in a number of different areas, so delighted to introduce Jackie to you. She's going to talk to you about recruitment. Enjoy the presentation.
Thank you very much. We've oh, thank you. We've got some limited time this afternoon, but what I wanted to do was to look at recruitment with new eyes, really, because I firmly believe that the employee experience starts with that recruitment experience. And as reward professionals, we'll all have different types of role, but we all have a role in supporting that delivery of a really excellent recruitment experience. So I want to look at the collaborations that we have and just to test in the group how close we are or not to that recruitment reality. And having been a candidate, a recruiter, experienced the process many times over, I'm going to share some of my insights today in terms of what I've experienced. So feel free to ask questions if they come into your head. I've also got to keep to time, so the delightful Emily at the back will, Grace at the back will be putting up her table tennis bat, but onwards we go. So I thought the first pertinent question of the afternoon would be, who is a recent recruit? So hands up if any of you have been recruited in the last 6 months. 2? Anyone recruited in the last 12 months? Another 2? 3? Okay, so that's 5. Who's been in their role for 2 years plus? Okay, so most of this room. So that's quite telling because you're not able to give a very recent account of what your organisation's recruitment experience feels like in practice. So I think it's staying alive to that and really making sure you stay close to your recruitment team to understand the reality of that experience. So for those of you who are recent recruits, or actually for all of us in the room who have been recruits at one point or another, how would you score your own recruitment experience? So if it was 8 out of 10 plus, hard to fault it really, couldn't really have been better. Hands up in the room. Oh gosh, okay. So 5 to 7 out of 10, fairly decent, few improvements. All right, and anyone below a 5? All right. So your organisations have done enough to attract you into your environments, but equally there's been some room for improvement there. So I want to kind of talk today about what role we might play in improving that experience for others coming into our organisations. So recruiter's life, it's just about interviewing, isn't it? It's easy. That's what I always used to think, still think some days. But actually, when you look at what they're having to deal with, the knowledge they need to have, there's actually quite a lot there. So the recruitment experience is not generic, it's not universal. You know, what they will be telling permanent hires is going to be very different to what they're telling somebody possibly on an FTC. That graduate recruitment experience is going to be very different to experienced lateral hires. So they have quite a sophisticated set of messages they need to get across. And then, you know, aside from the contract types, there's all of those different pieces of information that they either need to have in their heads ready or they're going to be questioned about. And in terms of the stuff that we touch, salaries, incentives, benefits, understanding what's inside flex, what's outside, what you have from day one, what you have later, what you have that's relevant to a particular contract type and what's not, etc., is quite a lot for them to have to understand. And then if you get beyond all of that, they then have quite a critical role to play in terms of really being able to bring to life an organisation's strategy, value, visions, what sets your organisation apart from competitors that might also be wanting to recruit those people. So they have got to really understand the DNA of the organisation, what reporting lines might be of relevance to the candidate and the vacancy that they're talking about, team dynamics, personalities, aside from all the recruitment, aside from all the rewards and benefits pieces that you want them to be able to get across. So they've got quite a difficult ask in my mind. And then from the candidate's perspective, aside from hearing, you know, the consistent narratives around strategy and vision and the roadmap for the future, the individual might be interested in, what are the mobility opportunities for me? How much scope will there be for formal promotion? How am I going to get recognised for the contribution I'm going to make to this organisation? And to what extent we think our recruitment teams are capable of articulating the reality in relation to that, I think is quite a challenging question to answer, and not one that I recognise in myself I've probably asked consciously enough and regularly enough. Now, you'd think the questions would stop when individuals are offered employment, but of course they don't. So the recruiters are often playing a kind of conduit role as people start to onboard. And it's at that point in many of our organisations, the larger organisations, that people are passed away from the recruiters, or start to be, and passed into onboarding teams. So you then have a different set of personalities that are responsible for that ongoing recruitment experience before an individual arrives in an organisation. But the recruiters can often be that conduit point for the other queries that emerge quite late in the day. So, particular offer queries, LTIP buyouts, counter offers, signing on bonuses, pieces that can come along fairly late in the process. And in all manner of bits and pieces. So, if you're offering study sponsorship, for example, or there's a coffee with a team to arrange, your recruiters in theory could be interacting with some of those conversations as well as the formal interview processes that they've gone through. So there's a lot there, and I do wonder if to some extent we do our recruitment colleagues a disservice sometimes by thinking of their role as fairly one-dimensional, when in practice to really deliver a stellar recruitment experience there's quite a lot of knowledge they need to have under their belt. So my own experience of recruitment. So in the last 3 to 4 years, I've gone for some permanent roles where I've been interviewed. I've gone for a fixed-term contract role. I've gone in on an interim contract, and I've been in head of reward roles where I've needed to recruit a team from scratch. So I've lived the dream of recruitment from a number of different lenses, and what I thought I might do in the short time we've got this afternoon is to shed some light on some of my own experiences and see if any of these strike a chord and might also resonate with some of the experiences you've each had. I think in truth the headline for me is that my own recruitment experience has been extremely mixed, and we spend a lot of effort trying to deliver really great language and narratives about the benefits that we're going to offer and the packages we're going to offer and what it's like working for our organisations. But sometimes if it takes 2 months to be recruited, another 3 months to work your notice, it's 6 months on from that initial interaction when you're actually in the door sometimes. So that recruitment experience is really critical at that very early stage. And it's a shame that in my own experience it has been quite mixed. And the show of hands earlier about your own scoring for the recruitment experiences you've had is testament to me that there are improvements that can be made. So sometimes I've experienced hugely impressive brands who do very little to promote their employee benefits. They have a lot available, but no time is given to it during the recruitment process. And we work really hard as reward people to bring together a package that's really going to be competitive, compelling. There's a lot of work on our part to put that together. So for that not to land or even be communicated during a recruitment process is such a missed opportunity, I think. Often you don't even get into first interview unless you've had an initial set of conversations with a recruitment agent. So I've also experienced agency recruiters who have no idea what benefits are available at organisations. For those of us with platforms with a number of different benefits on offer, there is often that throwaway line, oh, don't worry about benefits, they offer all the usual flex benefits you would expect. Now that is a lost opportunity, because if there's something fabulous that you're offering, that communication is not there from the get-go. I was called by a recruitment agent back in July who asked me to apply for a role with one of the leading payroll HR tech companies. And his advice to me was, Jackie, I think I want to put you forward because 6 other candidates have withdrawn so far. So Okay, why is that? Well, they've all withdrawn because the HRD is a complete nightmare. She is so horrible. They've each got to the end of the first interview stage and have pulled out. So I'm like, surely not. And basically that third bullet I've put up there, this HRD has a group of senior decision makers at board level who are so brutal and so difficult to deal with that she has been playing in her recruitment drive the nasty customer role at first interview to test the resilience of candidates to know who she can put forward into second interview, which I thought was hilarious. But actually, massive consequences for the brand and for this business trying to recruit a head of reward role when they can't even get candidates in front of the board to be interviewed at second interview because that first interview has been such a gritty, realistic portrayal of what the culture is like. And I think the same is true in the graduate recruitment world where, you know, there are specific agencies that deliver video content, narratives on graduate recruitment sites to really make sure that a gritty reality of working life as a graduate trainee is presented properly. But actually, does that necessarily make for a great employee experience? And another role that I got, it was an interesting one, where I'd had the recruitment agent pass me through a process really quickly. So I got an offer in, I don't know, 6 or 7 days. And then the recruitment agent panicked. Oh gosh, I don't know, Jackie, if you can legally work in the country. So you must come and bring your passport into me before actually the offer can be given to you in writing. So went to the recruitment agent's building to deliver my passport. Then the offer is sent out to me. We must have your passport. You've got 4 days to present your passport, otherwise this offer will be rescinded. So took my passport in. Then I get a letter week before I'm joining. We must see your passport on your first day. That's another classic example where you can be, passed from pillar to post and the process is not particularly joined up. And that recruitment experience is damaged as a result. So I don't think necessarily as reward people we are close to any of this. That reality just isn't part of our day job at the minute.
Did you take the role though?
I did take the role, yeah. And what's really fascinating is that once you're in the job you understand that the culture is not working and it isn't efficient, and what you experience as a recruit is what you also experience as an employee, which is very interesting. So how do you get across a fabulous package? As I said a minute ago, I think there's a risk when you offer 20 plus benefits on a flex plan that people, the recruiters, your internal recruiters and certainly your agency recruiters are quite straightforwardly saying, don't worry, this firm offers all the flex benefits you would expect. But actually, what does that mean in practice? Because if you know you're delivering something that's different and better to what your competitors are offering down the road, unless you consciously tell your recruitment team about that, and unless they consciously tell the recruitment agents about that, then actually there isn't that discussion about the package at all. So it's something to watch out for because I have experienced that quite a bit. And the other dimension, which will be very interesting, I think, particularly to the Benefex team, is that many of the onboarders don't describe benefits either because they rely on the tech, they rely on the access to the platform to do the talking. So don't worry about the benefits, you can see all the detail once you get your log on. So if you get your log on 6 months after you first had a recruitment interaction with an organisation, that's a very long time. So I would just encourage you guys to think about whether you can get access for staff and future recruits to the Benefex platform and materials as soon as someone's in, at the offer stage, because if they've got a 3-month wait, that's an awful long time to wait to see the content.
We take our Benefex produce a booklet for us of the benefits.
And that's so critical, I think.
It shows
Yeah.
everything that we do, and we always have spare ones so we can give them away to people, and even if they don't come to join us, they then know what an experience we have and they pass it on to somebody else. So I
don't think that happens for all clients. Yeah. just within Benefex, but you know, I think it's common for firms to cobble together their one pager that's unbranded, that they issue early days, and then of course you have the platform do all that glossy piece once someone's actually making their choices. I see a few smiles in the room.
Ours is exactly the same as our platform, and we used it. We did an apprentice recruitment campaign for the first time this last year, and we took it, and in the hope that we did have apprentices join us, but also they would take them away home to realise what the difference was between us and other companies that they might go towards.
Exactly right. Yeah. Because
well, and for most apprentices, this is their first entry into work. So.
And you know, if you've got an amount of gloss and material to offer people, that is so going to stand out against a competitor firm that doesn't have it. One piece to put on your radar, I'm not sure how aware you are of this, but I'm certainly seeing a growing trend for fixed-term contracts not to get any benefits, but just to get a slug of cash. And I think there's massive embarrassment with the recruitment agents and sometimes with internal recruitment teams. So the recruitment agent will say, oh, you'll get all the flex benefits you would expect because that's what permanent hires get. It's not discussed during the interview process. And then I've had a few people say to me, a massive shock when I got my offer, there wasn't any medical insurance. There weren't the benefits I thought I'd be getting. So that, what, there's no benefits? Oh, I thought you knew that, is coming, becoming increasingly common. And that slug of money doesn't buy you the benefits. You can't go and buy those benefits yourself. So to give you an example, I had a £800 PMI benefit as an employee. I was given the equivalent of that slug of money in a fixed term contract. But when I actually picked up the phone to AXA to ask for the same coverage I'd had in a fully insured scheme, that same product was about £4,000. So because it was so comprehensive, the product that I'd had. So the FTC dimension here will grow as those with portfolio careers and different contract types come into your organisation. So to think about whether that recruitment experience is working, I think for that group is something to keep an eye on for the future. So how do you win the hearts and minds of recruitment and colleagues and give them comfort to sell your package? Are they selling in your package at the moment? Who knows their recruitment team and what their benefit choices are? 3, 4, 5? Okay. I think that is quite telling. And I've been caught out by this in the past, where recruiting colleagues say to me, oh, the candidates only want the cash. When actually, when you look into their own experience of selecting benefits, they've been too busy and they haven't selected any. So they're not actually engaged and passionate about everything you guys will be passionate about, and don't have that capacity to sell in something that is compelling and interesting, because they just don't know their stuff. So they need some help. Now I've routinely run sessions, group sessions for recruitment colleagues to make sure they understand the benefits that are on offer. But how regularly do you do that? Because I've done that once a year or a couple of times a year maybe, but I don't know in your environments whether you've seen what I've seen in the past, but there's usually quite a lot of churn in that recruitment team. So again, an opportunity and an important role, I think, for us as reward people to make sure that we are making recruitment colleagues feel comfortable to admit what they don't understand. I think pensions auto-enrolment is really challenging to explain, so I don't think that's communicated during the recruitment process at all. And I think just generally, we spend quite a lot of time with our efforts and initiatives that we roll out. We spend quite a lot of time making sure our HR generalist colleagues are bang up to date, but are we doing the same with our recruitment folk? So concluding remarks, I'm conscious that, there we go, you see, 5 minutes to go, I'm on time hopefully, so that's good. Concluding remarks on my part, I think we have to be really infectiously positive about everything that we offer. Because I think our recruitment colleagues need to get that and live that dream right from the very first interview experience, and before that first interview experience really, so they need to get that across to recruitment agents. So that third bullet there about the recruiters needing to be more powerful advocates than the people we have in our induction sessions, I think is something that has been lost in my mind for some time, but it's something that I think is of critical importance if you want to win that war on talent. this throwaway line that everyone's got flex and it's all the same and don't worry, you're going to get everything you would normally get, surely that's not right. So if you are doing something better, bigger, bolder, different, who knows about it? Because you can come out of today and think, oh, I've chatted to a load of people, my flex scheme's definitely better, I'm doing all this great stuff. But actually it's the recruiters inside your organisation that really need to be able to talk that through from the rooftops as well. The lady in the front row talking about that brilliant recruitment document that you use that's branded and, you know, ready to issue to candidates. Are your Benefex materials universal? Everything you talk about in a benefit sense, has it been branded? Is it consistent? Is there anything that's kind of cobbled together internally until you can get someone access to the platform? Because if there are those bits and pieces of paper and text-heavy materials, then maybe there's an opportunity to have another look. The recruitment deal, as I mentioned, with dreaded FTC, cash packages and various other contracts types that have emerged, that recruitment package, the recruitment deal won't be universal. So those poor recruiters trying to keep on top of all those different dimensions to map those to the right candidates and the right contract types is pretty challenging. So I'd certainly look at myself and think in the roles I do next, I need to make much better efforts at staying close to that recruitment effort. So test your assumptions, because they might not be reality. That recruitment experience should be fabulous, but actually, is it? Because actually, I think we have a really critical role to play in that recruitment experience. Now, I might be 2 minutes left, but oh, it's fine, it's fine. So I hope this has struck a chord. I think we're all super busy and trying to find that right headspace to think about these collaborations and to devote the time to connecting with recruitment colleagues is always quite a challenge, but I hope that's been of interest today. Are there any comments or questions that anyone would like to pose if we've got a couple more minutes?
Jackie, Michelle from Oracle, hello.
Oh, hello.
It actually is even worse for us because our recruitment teams are actually EMEA-wide. So they recruit to different countries, and different countries have different benefit packages. So
Yeah.
I sympathise with them. They frustrate the hell out of me sometimes when they're not getting things right. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's our responsibility to make sure that they've got all of that information, so that if they're talking to a candidate in the UK, for example, they've got everything, and they try their
Yeah.
best. But I think you're right.
It's a big ask, isn't it?
We assume that it's a simple task, but it's not.
No, because every interview is going to be unique.
Yeah.
They don't know what question they're going to get asked. And having the answer themselves is much better than passing people from pillar to post. But yeah, it's a sophisticated picture, isn't it, in our organisations to try and get it right every time. A lot of recruitment teams are remote, aren't they? They're not actually sitting near you. So trying to actually look in the whites of their eyes and test what they understand and what they don't is a challenge in itself sometimes. Yeah, food for thought, hey. Thank you very much. There's a few nods and a few but lots of silence. So I'm hoping that's been of interest today.
One more. How do the recruiters react to it when you try and get that sort of try and give them more knowledge and work closer with them? Do they react well to it?
We often give off this aura that what we do is complicated. Yeah, and I think ER people are very similar. So we've built this reputation around us that what we touch is really important and really complex. So I think when you speak to recruiters, you've got to make them realise that you just need some really, simple, positive headlines to paint in front of candidates. So some of it's technical on pensions, but there's a load of stuff that isn't. So it's about giving them the right language. I don't think they're resistant, I think they're just a bit scared because they don't want to say the wrong thing. And if you give them a load of detail to have to remember, that's quite a challenge with everything else they've got to remember. So I think we just need some thinking time to really distill what the key messages are for our organisations. So if you know your incentive package is more generous than the competitor down the road, that statement, we pay more bonuses and larger bonuses to people, is an easy one. It's not a technical one. So it's finding those right messages, really. And it's just keeping an eye, I think, on the churn in your recruitment team as well and trying to play that collaboration through at the right frequency. Some of you might have really deep, many years kind of relationships with recruiters, whereas other people might be in firms where people are flitting in and out on fixed-term contracts themselves, where they're not, you know, provided with benefits, but just with cash sums.
One of the points you said quite telling is the difference in the price between a corporate benefit and an individual benefit.
Yes, yeah.
It's the bit that kind of gets lost because people just assume it's the same as it is the same. I can go on eBay or whatever, or the internet and find it, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
The reality is you can't.
No.
So I think that point is especially if the recruiters have to be managers in the team, managers in the business, if they don't understand it, then your benefits aren't living and breathing internally either.
No,
so
that's right.
This will probably be a flag that says you've got a problem with your recruitment, but you've probably got a problem internally with the overall perceived value of the benefits. So
yes.
where the total reward statements may not be doing what they should be doing, or the value of what you're presenting is being diluted. And when you spend a lot of money, that's wasted money. It's
exactly.
not attracting the right people.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Your point is obviously focusing on recruitment. I think once you've done the attraction piece, you may be attracting the wrong people if you're not saying the right thing, by the way, but once you've attracted the right person, making sure it still lives and breathes and seems exciting, which is what the Benefex proposition obviously does.
Yes.
But it's only as good as people being directed to it and reading it. It needs
yeah.
to be part of your overall behaviour as a business,
yeah.
culturally.
Yeah, you know, being infectiously positive about everything on offer.
You made the assumption that £800 corporate would be the same price as doing it direct. It's not, it's £4 grand.
No, it's, yeah.
That's a massive miss for a lot of people, because they may go to a competitor thinking I'll get paid another £1,000, not knowing they're going to have to pay £3,000 for the place.
Yeah, yeah. And those types of benefits are really important to people. They make a difference. Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. We'll give Jackie a round of applause for that. Fantastic, really, really interesting. So, in a moment, Simon Andrew is going to be presenting in this room on something that I can't even begin to describe Simon's presentation, so I have to find out. So, for those of you who are staying in the stream, please do stay. For those of you who are moving to the wellbeing stream, it's over in one of the other breakout rooms. So, we'll have a few minutes and we'll get started with Simon. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.